Welcome to another episode of the CG Podcast here, episode 2. We're here with Coach O, is what we call him. He's our AD and basketball coach here at Canton-Galva. And we're just going to kind of interview him and kind of find out who he is to help you guys understand more about him. So, Coach O, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm originally from South Bend, Indiana, born and raised, and after graduation, myself and four of my classmates back in Indiana, we made a trip out to Sterling unchecked. I mean, we didn't come out and visit or anything, and we came out and went to Sterling College, and I played baseball. I was a 4-year starter in baseball, and I played 3 years of basketball and ran track for 2 years. So that was my college career, and met Miss O there my junior year, and she was a cheerleader, and got married. Would have been after her sophomore year, going into my senior year, and after that, I got my first coaching job. Actually, was in Fairfield and coached football there for 3 years, and then moved on to went back home to Indiana. We just had our oldest son Kyle, and I started working for the Finish Line. You guys all know the sporting goods store, and down in Indianapolis, and ended up becoming district manager down for them. And when Kyle was school age, we wanted to get back into a smaller school system, and I always liked the Kansas school system, and I graduated with a teaching degree. So the Finish Line offered an opportunity to pay for us to come back out to Kansas as long as I opened up the store in Hutch, which we did, and took about 6 months, and then I got back into full-time teaching and coaching, and my first job was at Brewster, 1995. I was there for 6 years, and I was fortunate enough to coach some really good athletes, and my last 2 years there, we were one game away from going to play for a state championship, and both years Hanston beat us, and then both years they went to state and 45 the team. They beat us by 6 in both games, so we were always one game short. But then that come basketball season, 2000-2001, we were back-to-back state champs in 1A, which was altogether 1A at that time.
Right.
And then moved on to Sharon Springs, and was there for the last 21 years, and did a little bit of everything, coached all the sports. I did weights for 21 years there, and I did weights at Brewster as well, and had a good time at Sharon. But then, things opened up here, and Mrs. O and I decided to make the move.
Okay, so let's go back to Sterling. What, out of everywhere you could have gone, why Sterling? What attracted you there?
What attracted us there at the time was I had a couple baseball scholarships to Huntington and Ball State back in Indiana.
Right.
But my head baseball coach in Indiana, and the head boys basketball coach at Sterling College went to college together, and they were college roommates, good friends, and he kind of got about 5 of us. So myself and 2 others came out, and we played basketball. That was our main sport, was basketball, to come out. And then we had two others that came out, and they played football. And then after basketball was open, the baseball coach at Sterling, had heard that I played some baseball, and he went and watched a softball game, and kind of saw me play a little bit and asked me to come out, and so I did. It was my favorite. Baseball is my love. I love baseball, and I wanted to play anyway, but I didn't know how to go about asking for a scholarship and getting on the team. But he saw me play, and he offered me, and started from day one center field, and played all 4 years, and had a great career, and a lot of good teams, and I played basketball. I ended up not playing my senior year of basketball because I wanted to focus on baseball.
So back then you could multi-sport even in college?
Oh, yeah. My freshman year, I got there, started basketball practice. Very first day we got there, I played basketball until February. First day basketball was over, I was into baseball. And then I also ran track on the days we didn't play baseball.
So you could even dual sport a single season back then. So how did that work? So because like you said, on days you weren't playing baseball, you're at track. So did they just make you commit one as your number one?
No, in college they don't do that. Yeah, I had to wait for baseball, so I missed about the first month of baseball. Didn't have any games, but missed all the practices.
Right.
So when basketball was over, I got started going to practices, and I think I was there, probably got about 10 practices in for the first game. And then we played Washburn University, actually, it was our first game, and started all games all 4 years. And then my senior year, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to put all my focus on baseball.
Right.
So I didn't play basketball, run track, but actually I gave up track after my sophomore year because it was just way too much.
That's crazy.
I went home after my freshman year, and I've never been as tired.
Because I mean, this year you get there and automatically it's boom. Your workouts and practicing and 2 a days, and like Braden Collins, he went to Hutch, so he's sitting there, and he already talked about they've been working out and having practices for a month now.
Yeah.
So I mean, and it's one sport. Even after season, you're sitting there.
Well, this was 30 years ago.
Right.
And I was still, my whole day was in sports. I was either at practices or lifting weights or at a study hall
So how did that work? Did you only have how many classes do you have in a day then? If you were.
I had a full load. I had 15 credits.
Wow.
So yeah, went to classes. Got up at about 6, went and ate breakfast, went and had a lifting workout before school, and then went to all my classes till about 3:30. Went to practice from 3:30 to 5:30. Went and ate from 5:30 to about 6:15, and then had study hall from 6:15 to 8.
So on days that you had baseball, and if you had a track meet coming up, would you go to baseball practice and go do some track workouts?
Yeah, I only long jumped.
Oh, okay. So you didn't really.
And I knew how to do that, so I didn't. I didn't really practice track too much. There was a couple meets I ran on a relay team, 4x1, the relay team to fill in, but it was just long jump, and I'd been doing that forever, so I really didn't need to practice.
Right. So and then you went back home to Indiana, and then you worked at Finish Line. So when they asked you to open one up back here, so did you just kind of help fully?
Yeah, they
whole source started?
They moved us out here. They paid for our way out here. That's why I did it.
Right.
So we came back out here, and they opened a store at Hutch. So and I was there about 6. It took about 6 months. I had to hire all the staff and do the whole store.
So you had full reign of starting everything, pretty much.
Of the store?
Yeah, you had full control.
I was district manager in Indianapolis. I was district manager of 2 stores.
Wow.
2 stores in Indiana, and that was the biggest. That's where Finish Line originated. Their home stuff.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, it was fun. I had a lot of good people at the Finish Line, but I knew I wanted to get the boys back to a smaller school, and I wanted to get into coaching, and I always knew that. It just was the time to do it.
Right, and then you said Brewster was your first school that you went and taught and coached at, correct?
Well, Fairfield.
And then
I was an at-risk coordinator there, and I was a head football coach for 3 years.
Okay, so you actually started did you ever coach baseball then?
Yep, coached baseball at Fairfield.
Okay, you did both there after a while. Very
Yep.
interesting. And then you didn't start baseball or a basketball coach till you got Brewster. Did you start?
Well, I actually was an assistant at Fairfield under Dwight Roper, who is the head girls coach at Haven right now.
Oh,
but
cool deal.
I was under him for 2 years, and then the Brewster job came open, and we went and interviewed and got hired.
That's a pretty far drive from here, though. Or you were living in Hutch at the time, or where were you living when you moved there to?
When we moved back to take the Hutch store, we moved to Sterling.
Oh, okay, back to Sterling.
We always really loved Sterling.
Okay.
I still love Sterling. It's a great town.
That's probably closer to Brewster, isn't it? Or is that even farther than?
No, Sterling's about 3 hours from Brewster.
So 3 hours. Wow. And then you moved out there for how many years?
I was at Brewster from 95 to 2001.
Wow. Okay. And then what made you move on to, and then after that was Sharon Springs?
Yep. After that was Sharon Springs.
What drew you to Sharon Springs from Brewster?
I think, I also coached my son's basketball teams in the summer. We were called the Young Guns, and we had really good teams.
Yeah.
And I went around Western Kansas and got the best players. And a lot of them were from Sharon Springs.
Right.
Taylor Elder, Kyle Elder, Tori Elder. I mean, I had a lot of Sharon Springs connections.
Yeah.
And when a couple of their dads got on the school board at the time, and they came and gave me a pretty good offer. And at that time, Mrs. O and I had never taught in the same school district. She was
Right.
at Golden Plains when I was at Brewster. They offered us both a job so we could be in the same school system, and offered me a pretty good package as far as being able to still coach weights, and had boys basketball, and I did junior high basketball, track, AD, transportation director, all that stuff. So
Jeez.
it's a pretty good package. So we moved on. It was a tough decision. Still had some good athletes at Brewster, but sometimes you have to do what's right for your family
Right. So
and career move.
how far was that drive for Miss O home every day?
About an hour and 15 minutes.
Well, see that'll add a toll on real quick. So that was she was probably happy to get that job in town, not traveling very far.
Yeah, and it was good for us to be in the same school system.
Right.
And the boys were at the ages where they needed, people after school for us and things like that. So it all worked out well. We was very fortunate to get that position.
Right, and then so now let's move. So we're to the point we're at Sharon Springs. You've been there for a while now, and you had your back-to-back championships. So let's talk about those. So before that, were they super successful? Before that, like known as a team to
Brewster
really
or Sharon?
Sharon.
Sharon had never been to a state championship.
Right.
No, they've never been to the state tournament at all. And we went my third year there. It was my oldest son's sophomore year. And we went to state, got beat first round by Cunningham, but we kind of got there and got to know what it was to be there.
Right.
And then actually I took some years off. I took 5 years off of coaching so I could watch the boys. It was pretty tough. It's tough to coach your own boys.
Right, yeah.
Especially in a town where you go to and you were in the same league with Brewster.
Right,
and they kind of know you, and they had not hard feelings, but they didn't
but you're right.
They didn't like getting beat.
Right.
Yeah, let's just put it that way. They didn't like getting beat. So it was tough coaching.
Right.
And and I didn't want to put Tyler through what Kyle was going through. So I quit coaching for 5 years, and then when Tyler got graduated in 2009, then I got back into it. And we struggled the first couple years, but then we went on a good run, and we won the state in 15, and we had a real good team coming back. We would have won it in 16, but that's when our student athlete passed away.
Oh, okay.
During a football game, Luke Shim. That's still tough.
Yeah. Take your time.
Would have won it that year, and then won it again the year after that.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to you're at three state championships, correct?
Well, we won in 15. We would have won in 16 if Luke wouldn't have passed. When we won in 15, he was a junior.
Okay.
We played St. John Beloit in the championship, and we had been in the state championship game the year before, and Beloit beat us on the last second shot.
Okay.
And then we played him again his junior year, which in that game he had 27 points and 17 rebounds.
That's a baller right there. That's a heck of a
He was
game.
a 7-foot high jumper. 4.0 speed. He was a stud. And then in football, the game that he passed, he had 6 touchdowns, 300 yards rushing, 20-some tackles. I mean, he was just
That's a baller.
He was a stud. And then but he passed. We had a good year that year. We only lost 2 games, but we got upset in the sub-state final by Dighton.
Okay.
On a tough shot. And then the next year we came back and we won again in 17 with a good group. So we won 15 and 17. We got beat out in 16 and 14. We were in the state championship game.
Okay. So out of those, which one is like kind of your favorite moment? Where you said, was it your first one? Kind of being the first man. My
first one at Brewster was good because we beat Hanover.
Right.
Who was and they still are. I mean, they win state championship after state championship. It was good because they were ranked ahead of us, and it was nice to get that first one. We had a lot of pressure, and then the second year we came back and we played Argonia for the championship, and we beat them by 25 or so.
Oh, so that one wasn't even
No, that one wasn't even. And the kids, they handled pressures better.
right.
Sharon, I would probably have to say probably the 17, because we had some obstacles we had to overcome. We had towards the end of the season, I had a young man named Chisholm Grun,
Yeah.
and he was our leading scorer, leading rebounder. He was in the shop class, and one of the students comes running in, Coach, Chisholm cut his fingers off. And I'm like, yeah, right, because we were supposed to play a real good team that night, so I thought they were fooling me.
Right.
I went out there, and he had chopped them off.
Oh, geez.
All of them?
He got 3 of the 4. So that was kind of an obstacle. He was out obviously the rest of the season.
Right.
So we had to fill in, and we had a junior come in, Carlin Springfield, and fill in. We lost the next game because we were kind of adjust to the situation. St. Francis beat us at their place. Then we went into the tournament, and we kind of got on a run.
Yeah.
And Chisholm came back and was on the sideline, helped me coach. And
Right.
so we kind of put some things together, and we ended up beating Hartford in the state championship game by about 20.
Yeah. Good. So that's always the fun thing is almost obstacles make wins so much better.
Oh yeah,
So much sweeter.
when you can go over obstacles and you can go over what people, we weren't expected to be real good that year.
Right.
We had some kids step up like Chisholm. Chisholm hardly played varsity his junior year. Had a great summer, came back, started, was leading scorer, leading rebounder. And it was a shot that obviously we missed him big time.
Right.
But, we all pulled together and got her done.
Of course, you want a season where everything runs smoothly. Like you never want injuries or tragedies or anything like that happen. But when something does happen and your team adjusts to it, it's always fun to see them fight adversity and get in there and just kind of take over.
That was probably, like I said, the most enjoyable because we overcame so many obstacles, and we weren't the most talented team,
Right.
by far, but we were the best team.
What was the most difficult team you've played in the state championship?
The one we lost, St. John Beloit. We were 17 down going into the fourth quarter, and just looked at the kids and said, we're going to our 12 press, which we run here, and we got at them. We were 17 down, and one of our boys, Nate Kling, had 7 threes in the fourth quarter and brought us back. And Luke Shim, who was a sophomore at that time, hit 2 free throws with about 3.1 seconds on the clock, put us ahead 1. Thought we were going to win a state championship, and Parker Gates from St. John, who helped me at PGU here,
Yeah.
I'm good friends with him now.
Bittersweet there.
He reminds me. He brought the ring when he came this summer. But he got the ball and took it full court and went up and made an unbelievable shot, and they beat us by 1.
That's also one of those things that you can't. You sit there and you're like, it got away from you, but at the same time, if a guy makes a play, congrats. But.
Yeah, and it's good when you have stuff like that because you become friends with those kids. Like the next year, we played them in football, and they bring vans to the football game, and I met them when they got there, and Parker was their quarterback. We were good friends. We had made good relationships over the past year playing them, and yeah, they pull up in their vans and they all jump out and they get right in my face and put all the rings right in my face like, how you like this, Coach? I said, about as much as I'm going to like the one we get this year.
That's good stuff right there. All right, let's get to the point. What brought you to CG?
To be quite honest with you, everybody knows it's family.
Right.
Tyler, we've got 2 grandsons that we absolutely, it was just tough being out that 4 hours away and seeing them once a month or whatever.
Yeah.
And believe me, I love Sharon. I still have good friends there, and I talk to the kids. Kids text me after games, before games, even now. So I love the place, and we never would have left for any other school besides here.
Right.
This is the only school we did.
That's
And,
awesome.
and the thing is, we let Miss O and I were out on a walk one day, and Mr. Wilson calls up and starts kind of putting things together, and I'm like, well, you know, Mrs. O would have to have a job as English, and he said, well, we just had an English job open up last night, so everything kind of fell into place.
Right.
And we interviewed and came out and ended up taking the positions, just, you know, so we could get out here. And it's always good to be able to coach with your son and
Right.
and be around your son all day long, and then have the grandkids 15 minutes away.
Yeah.
So, you know, we can go out and eat supper with them now if we want to, instead of waiting on a weekend and just having to bide our time on the weekends and
Right.
then leave them. And so it's worked out. It worked out kind of well as far as everything just falling in place.
Right. And I know here you've done more than we could even ask for at some parts. Like, so we'll move that into our next part, is you being we want to get into more depth of AD, like how much they have to go through to get games set to, because I feel like that's one of the things that people don't know of. Like AD, you know, you see them at every game, you know, they're running around doing everything, but I feel like there's so many little things that add up into that there's no clue.
It's kind of it's an extremely tough job,
Right.
and I really don't think people understand.
No,
But it also is a very rewarding job, and I really like it. I mean, if I could go and be an AD at a college, that's something that's always been a dream of mine.
Right.
Just to be an AD. I love the. First of all, it makes the school year go really quick.
Yeah, it helps out with that.
Yeah. But you know, we just had an AD meeting today, and we're all sitting there talking, and we're just like, everybody's like, people don't understand what an AD does.
Right.
Yeah.
They just think it's scheduling games and they're doing this, but it's so much more. From hour to hour, I'll get 10 phone calls or 10 emails that I have to address, and then the next hour it's another 10,
Right.
and then you know, all day long it's just an all day long job, and then to teach to have to teach. And I enjoy the classroom, but
Right.
it's been a big struggle for me, because I spent 26 years in the weight room.
Yeah.
I did
teaching.
nothing, and I was able, as an AD and a strength coach, to kind of go do what I want and get things done here.
Right.
Now I'm in a classroom where I can't leave the classroom.
Yeah.
So it's been challenging. So a lot of weekends. I'm usually here on Saturday from about 7 to noon, and then Sunday about 7 to noon, and getting ready for the next week. And and with the COVID thing the last couple of years, it's made it more challenging than normally.
Right.
But yeah, it's a tough job that I don't think people really understand it. But I really enjoy doing it, and I really enjoy doing it here. We've got great people. You know, our secretaries are fantastic. Mr. Wilson's awesome.
Right.
You know, Dr. Anderson was great to work for, and now Mr. Struber. And so it's a good supporting group. We've got a good staff. I don't really think our students understand how good they have it.
Right, and that's why we're trying to kind of involve in this podcast, is get those people on here, so that way maybe we can show more people how much they do, and show a little bit more appreciation.
Yeah, there's a little bit more behind the scene than what students
Right.
actually think. The teachers are doing with grading. You know, just take Mrs. O as an English teacher. Everybody, the weekends, they have Saturday and Sunday. She's grading all weekend. She's preparing all weekend
Right.
for the next week, and all the teachers are doing that.
Right.
So yeah, we've got a great staff here, and it's been a challenge, but it's been an enjoyable job.
Right. So when it gets into, say, a football game, okay, what's everything you have to take into perspective as referees, or getting the other team a locker room, or kind of run us through what everything, like almost kind of a checklist, or what are your main things you got to get done.
There's
for
definitely a
football
checklist, but again, Carol helps quite a bit.
Right.
Thomas and Willie are amazing getting the field ready and things like that. Your dad does a great job upstairs getting all that stuff ready. But yeah, getting the officials, I got to get them paid. You got to get them checks. You got to get them rooms to go in before games. You got to take care of them, because
Right.
with our officials, the way it is right now, we're losing officials big time.
Right.
So you got to take care of them. You kind of pamper them a little bit.
Get them wanting to come back.
Get them to want to keep doing what they're doing, and you got to get the ambulance. You got to get the ambulance set. You've got to get people to raise the flag. I mean, there's just so many things that people kind of take for granted.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we've got great. Our high school cheerleaders take care of the flag, so it's a rewarding job. But it's like last Friday. Coach Hoppus calls. I'm up with Mrs. O. She's in surgery.
Right.
And Coach Hoppus calls and says, "Hey, is there a chance we can get the game changed to 6?" I said, "Well, I know the weather's coming in, so let me see what I can do."
Mm-hmm.
So it was the next 3.5 hours of calling
everybody.
Everybody. Getting, making sure our clock person's there, making sure your dad knows it's been changed, making sure the officials had to call all the officials and see if it was okay for them to even get there an hour earlier. All those little things. Had to call the EMT, make sure they're there early. So it took a little bit of time, but that's kind of the enjoyment of the job.
Right, is
and
putting puzzles together.
Yeah, and if it all works out, which it did Friday, everybody pulled together, and I wasn't here, but I heard everything went really well, and everybody was here on time, and when that happens, it makes you feel good.
It does. And go ahead.
So with us not having a game like this Friday, could you walk us through like what all you've had to try and do to get us a game?
How many phone calls I've had to make?
Yeah.
Probably about 40. And emails, and it's getting a hold of Keisha, putting it on their Keisha website to say we've got a game open. Looking at Twitter all the time to see if people's putting on that there's something happening and they don't have a game. I got to the AD meeting today, and there's a couple teams within our league that are struggling with numbers right now. And we may be able to pick up something there, so they're on my list. And,
Right.
But yeah, it's tough. Last year, we played Mound Ridge that second week when we had the game canceled, and they took all week. They wanted to find some, they didn't exactly. I don't think they exactly wanted to play us.
Right.
But push came to shove. That's the only game that they had, so we played, and it's the same thing this year. It's tough sometimes being as good as you guys are.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to play you.
Yeah.
I've contacted 3 or 4 teams, and they're like, "Are you kidding me? There's no way. First of all, we're not traveling that far to play you.
Right.
And second of all, we don't want to play you." And so that's tough.
Right.
It's tough. It's tough to find games. If we were 4-5 or 3-8 or whatever, and we weren't ranked, we'd probably have people calling off the hook. But,
Right.
Nobody wants to play you guys.
Yeah.
So it's a tough deal.
So what's the difference between like football season? You mainly have football and volleyball. You mainly have all the time to be strictly AD. So when it gets to basketball, what's the difference from moving in from being coach and AD? Is there a big difference within there?
No, not really. I've been doing it for so long that I kind of know priorities and how to switch gears and things like that. But you also have to remember I'm the transportation director for activities, and that's probably that's especially this year with the COVID and losing the drivers that we're losing. It's been a real challenge. So, yeah, the transportation thing is been thrown in there. I did it a few years at Sharon, so I was a little prepared for it. But all those little things, you got to make sure everybody has a bus driver, and you got to make sure they're here on time, and we're getting out of school on time, and so everybody's got to have communication with everybody. Communication is a huge part. Coaches tell you guys that all the time.
Yeah.
Communicate. It's the biggest part of everything.
Right.
And here it's pretty good. We've got a good team with good communications, and we haven't ran into any problems or any major problems anyway. And but yeah, it's a task sometimes. It keeps me up at night a few nights.
Right.
So going back to the planning thing, does this COVID thing going around kind of make it a little bit harder to plan, or because you got to get a hold of everyone?
Yeah, the COVID, you just never know when it's going to hit. It's like Solomon and whoever they were playing last Friday. They get a phone call at noon Solomon gets a phone call and says, "Hey, we can't come and play you."
Right.
And then you got to go try to find a game, which they were fortunate enough that Lynn fell into the same thing, Lynn High School, and they were able to play last week. But yeah, it's the not knowing
Right.
and when it's going to hit. That's the toughest thing, because then you have to go start communicating with everybody, and you got to find games, and you got to things that work with practice. Getting kids home to Galva after
Right.
junior high practice, and getting just things all lined up. So yeah, COVID. If you're prepared, I mean, if it gets you early enough, you're good. But if it comes and hits you late, and you've got to start making decisions
Quick.
It's
quick.
tough. It's tough.
So how did last year, being with the COVID rules, do you think, well, how was it, first of all, how was it last year with COVID rules being enforced and trying to keep people to follow the mask ordinances or sit in a certain section? Or
It was tough. It was tough, especially, at first with football and volleyball. Everybody, they can say what they want to say, but I don't like wearing a mask.
Right,
I mean,
right.
I absolutely just don't like it. And it's tough to go into a gym and you see somebody not wearing a mask and go up and say, "Hey, put your mask," which you had to do.
right, right.
For the safety of the kids, and get games in, which we ended up, with all the stuff that went around last year, we only ended up losing one basketball game all year.
Right,
Didn't lose
right.
any football games, any volleyball games. We lost one basketball game, and that was because of an official that had got COVID. So we did a pretty good job.
Right, right.
And that also puts our community did a really good job
Yes.
of following rules and respecting our rules as a district and what to do. We had a few, but
Ignorant.
sometimes you have to get, you have
Right.
to just tell them, and they may be mad at you, but that's part of the job, and
Yeah.
that's part of life. But our community did a fantastic job last
Agreed.
year following the procedures.
And I feel like they knew a lot of the time how much it meant to us that, that they followed those rules.
Oh, yeah.
Because if they don't, then that jeopardizes us possibly not having a game. And
Yeah.
I
Right.
feel like our
Yeah.
community, they're outstanding for
Yeah.
every sport that we do.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it's kind of like this Friday. I feel bad that we can't find a game.
Right.
Because, Tyson and Braden and all of our senior players are going to lose a game.
Right,
And you never
right.
want to do that, especially when, it's their senior year.
Mm-hmm.
So, it kind of puts a little more stress on me trying to find us a game.
Right.
And, if you guys weren't so darn good, I wouldn't be so stressed, I guess.
it's kind of a hard thing to not have it.
Yeah, but I would rather have you be good.
Right,
So
right.
obviously,
Yeah.
we'll do what we need to do.
So going back to basketball season last year, what would you say your favorite part was for your first season here?
The whole season, yeah, I enjoyed the new challenges. I enjoyed the new kids. And believe me, I missed all my Sharon boys. I'm not gonna lie to you. I watched them quite a bit, but just the whole thing. You guys, you guys accepted the new style of play, and you guys, came in the mornings and didn't have any issues with it. And we were 10-10 last year. I think we ended up 10-10, and I enjoyed every day, every minute of it. We got better as the year went on. We got to be a better, when I came in, and I have nothing. This has nothing to do with the previous coaching staff at all, but our fundamentals weren't very good.
Right.
And we couldn't shoot the ball. And you're shooting 19, and you guys know by now that I like to shoot. I like throwing those threes up. I like fast-paced game, and it took a while to. And I like playing man-to-man defense, which I hadn't played here for a while. And we had some kids that they couldn't. Some of them couldn't guard me, and that's tough cover. So it got better as the year went on, and I was a little disappointed in the way we played Gossel in that sub-state game, because I thought we'd come a little bit further than what we showed.
Right.
But we had some kids accept roles. Braden Menson, big respect for him. He was a 3-year starter or 2-year starter and came in and played a different role for me, and accepted it. And we had a couple other players like that as well. And, you know, we had a great summer.
Right.
I was real happy with the summer we had. And I think this year we're going to be might surprise some people.
I know as somebody from outside of the basketball program, watching you guys this year compared to previous years was, I mean, just again nothing against the previous coach, but it was just cool to watch. I mean, everybody was engaged. I mean, even at that Gospel subset game, we had a lot of people there compared to previous games, and the energy was just a whole different story. And just seeing you guys be out there and just competing with somebody that we haven't competed with in years.
Yeah,
it was just outstanding to
I've
watch.
coached a long time, and I've had the same philosophy since I'm a coach, because at Brewster, we go back to those, you know, days back at Brewster. We're running the same stuff that I've run for, you know, I tweak it here every year and do some things different here and here, depending on your skill level. But I haven't changed much. And I played high school basketball that way, and I played college basketball that way, and we're up and down. And, you know, I told the kids when they got here that you better be in shape and you better be ready to play, because I play a lot of kids, which I did. I think people were surprised when I told them that I don't care what grade you're in. If you're a freshman, you can help us win. You're going to play.
Right.
And I think a couple of people got surprised early on when I grabbed Jaden Ediger off the bench and said, "Let's get at it. Get out there and hit some shots."
Oh man, he got out there that one game and hit like 3 straight threes.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a way to feel.
I play kids that can help us win.
Right.
I don't care. You're on the varsity team. You're a freshman. You're here to help us.
Right.
So I think everybody enjoyed that they have a chance to play, and we do play a lot of kids because we get out. You know, we got to be in great shape because of the way we play.
Right, and I know I'm excited to see where you guys are this year.
I'm real excited.
Returning a lot of guys. And,
I've actually started my preparation a little bit already, a lot sooner than what I normally do.
Right.
Just because I'm pretty jacked about this season.
Right. I mean, I'm just stoked because you guys had a big summer. I know I'm a wrestler, so I didn't go to all your workouts, but even after maybe some football practices, some of the guys would be like, "All right, now we got to go to basketball." And I'm just sitting there thinking, "Hey, that's getting the work in and makes it big happen."
We had a lot of scrimmages this summer, and you guys always hit the weight room. You know, a lot of coaches don't like how hard kids lift during basketball season. I've never been that way. I've always been a strength coach, and you get the same workout you do as a football player.
Right.
So I'm like, you know, let's get in the weight room, and you know, obviously you guys know Coach O runs a great program and does a good job with it, and I'm very confident in what he does, and it helps us, you know.
Right.
You look at us walking on the basketball court, and, we look pretty impressive, you know. I'm not gonna lie to you. And we've got new unis new gear this year.
Again?
Well, we didn't get new uniforms, but we got new traveling suits and warm-ups and stuff. So we're going to look pretty slick.
Okay.
And we're going to fill those things out a little bit.
Yes, sir.
So I'm pretty jacked about the whole thing.
Well, all right. Thank you for coming on the podcast. It was a great interview.
You bet.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate it.
We hope you luck in your ADs in this future here in your basketball season. We might have you back on during basketball season to talk a little bit about how it's going.
You bet.
So far.
I'd love to come on and talk to you guys again. It's been a good time.
All right. Thank you.
You bet.
You.
We'll see you later.